So we need to have DCO1 and client booted up. And then we're going to run through a scenario here so you can follow along with me as I do the demo. So the IT manager at Widget LLC has decided to make some group policy changes that affects all staff at the company. So as I mentioned earlier, if you want to affect all staff at the company, then you need to have it at the top level of the Active Directory. So we're going to do that. So we're going to go to Server Manager and DCO1, Tools, Group Policy Management, and we're going to go from there. So Tools, let's go ahead and close this one just so we do it from scratch again here. So Tools, Group Policy Management. And there we are. There's our top level, widget LLC.internal, and there's our default domain policy. So the first thing we're going to do is set the minimum password length. So we're going to right click on our default domain policy and choose Edit. And from here, we're going to follow along as we are in the lab. So go to Computer Configuration, Policies, Windows Settings, Security Settings, Account Policies, and Password Policy. And here we have the minimum password length. Right now it's at 7. Let's go ahead and change that to 8 and click OK. So now that we've set that, we're going to set the wallpaper. So let's go back to our Module 8. So in Module 8, you'll see something called the Widget LLC logo. So you right click on that and you choose Save Link As. And go ahead and save it to your desktop on your host computer. Alright, so we see that on there. Let's right click and choose Copy. And then we'll paste it right in to our other spot. So on DCO1, go ahead and choose Paste, and there's our picture. So if you want to see what it looks like, it's our Widget LLC Where Stuff Happens logo. Okay, so now we're going to make this happen. So we're going to want to go to the user side now, user configuration policies. So let's go ahead and collapse the computer one. Policies. And then administrative template. Desktop. And desktop. All right, we're going to double click on desktop wallpaper. And let's go ahead and choose enabled. And we're going to need to get the path, of course, to that particular file. So we're going to need to go back to our desktop here. So let's right click on the picture, properties, and we can see the path. We'll just copy that. And we're going to rename this to be Widget LLC logo. Actually, we can just call it logo just to make it a little bit easier to type. There we go. Logo.png is the name of the file. All right, let's go back to our desktop wallpaper. And again, enable that. And we'll paste in that path, /logo.png. Okay, we're going to go ahead and leave it with the centered. Apply that. That part's done. Now we're going to set our default web page. We're going to go to Preferences under Users. And then go to Control Panel Settings, Internet Settings, right click, New, and this part's a little bit tricky. It depends on which version of Internet Explorer you're using. If you're using Windows 8 or 8.1, then you're most likely going to be on Internet Explorer 10. If you're using 7, then you're going to be using 8 or 9. Now, if you're using the Windows 10 client, Windows 10 operating system, go ahead and choose Internet Explorer 10 because that still is available on there, even though it uses the Edge. All right, so we're going to make a default homepage, and it's going to be www.widgetllc.com, which we created earlier. Click apply. There we go. And now we can go to a command prompt, and we can choose gp update/force. Now this isn't really going to do anything on the server computer, but I'm just going to show you this is the command that we would run to automatically apply all this. So because this is a domain controller, it is not affected. The domain controller is only affected by the domain controller policy, which is, if we go back into group policy management, we see domain controller, and there's our domain controller policy. So let's go into our client. And we'll go ahead and log off, log back in. There we go. Well, it's actually locked right now. There we go. All right. Let's go to a command prompt. GP update force. Might take 30 seconds or so. Very good. This is the break. Start over from here for the lab. So now let's go ahead and take a look at our lab. We need to have DCO1 turned on, our client turned on, and we're going to do some group policy work. So we're going to start by going into Server Manager DCO1 and then go to Tools and Group Policy Management. Here is our DCO1. Click on Tools and Group Policy Management. So expand widgetllc.internal if it's not already been done, and you can see there's our IPAM policies we did earlier. We're just going to leave those there. And what we're going to do is we're going to make some changes to the default domain policy as per the lab, because there are some things that the company wants everybody to have when they log into their computer, such as a unified desktop background, password length, and things like that. So let's just go ahead and right-click on it and choose Edit. Expand that, and you can see, as we showed earlier, the computer configuration and the user configuration. So according to our lab, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a change to our password policy. So under the computer configuration, we're going to go to Policies, Windows Settings, Security, Account Policies, and we'll expand that a little bit there, and Password Policies. And by default, we're at the minimum password length of 7 characters. So go ahead and change that to 8 characters. And now, whenever anybody logs in, they're going to have an 8-character password, or it will prompt them to say you need to have a longer password when you create a new password. All right, so now that the password part is done, go ahead and follow the directions just to go back to Module 8. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to download this Windows LLC logo. So when you download it, go ahead and put it on your DCO1 and create a folder in DCO1. Let's go to this PC, C drive. There we go, the C drive. Create a folder called Public. Right-click on that Public folder and go to Properties. Then go to the Sharing tab. Click Advanced Sharing and share the folder and call it public. You don't have to make any other changes than that. All the defaults are fine. Go ahead and click OK and close. So we want to put that file into this folder, and just to make it easier to name it, let's go to View, and we'll call it File Name Extensions. There we go. And just rename the file by right-clicking and choosing Rename, and call it just logo.png, just so it's a little bit easier to type in when we get to this next portion here. Now let's go ahead and change the desktop wallpaper. So this time we're going to go someplace different. We're going to, let's just collapse the computer one, and we're going to get into our user configuration and go to Preferences and then Control Panel Settings. Oh, I got ahead of myself there. So we're going to do the wallpaper one first. So in order to get that, we've got to go to the Users, Preferences, Control Panel, and then we're going to, let's see here, Control Panel Settings. There we are. Very good. Policies. Administrative Templates. Desktop. There we are. It was hiding from me. Go to the desktop wallpaper, and you've got to enable it before anything will change. And then we're going to put in the name, //DCO1, public, logo.ping. Then click Apply, and then OK. And you can see here that it is enabled, so we're in good shape. Now we're going to go on to down here at the bottom here, the Control Panel Settings, and we're going to make a change to the Internet settings, and we're going to make an Internet Explorer 10 change. So actually, I'm just going to go ahead and delete that so we can recreate it here. So right-click, choose New, Internet Explorer, and you have the choice of 8 and 9 if you're using an older version of Internet Explorer like on Windows 7, or 10 if you're on Windows 8 or Windows 10. Even though Windows 10 uses the Edge, it still has Internet Explorer on it. So we're going to put in our old favorite website, www.widgetllc.com, and check the box that says Start with Homepage. Otherwise, this won't get affected. Go ahead and click Apply, and OK. So now we have made 3 different changes. Password change, making at least 8 characters, and then we've got the desktop, and then we've got the Internet Explorer change. So we are good there. We can go to our desktop and choose GP Update Force, but it won't actually affect anything. And the reason for that is because if we go back into our policies, we're on a domain controller, and domain controllers are only affected by default domain controllers policy. So we need to log into our client. In our client, that's where we'll see the difference. So all you have to do is log in, and when you log in, the GP update will just happen. And there it is. There is our logo that we created earlier. And now let's go ahead and try our Internet Explorer, make sure that it also opens up. Oh, there it is, widgetllc.com. Now we don't have our router 01 open, so we're not going to get our page to come up, but the important thing is that it does show up when we open up Internet Explorer. Now if that didn't work for you, there's a really odd issue with, and again, don't worry about the page not coming up. There's a really odd issue with applying changes to group policy. So go back into your Internet Explorer settings that you did and make sure that these lines are green. If they're not green, that means that they were never saved, even if you clicked OK and walked away from it. So make sure that you go in here and you press F5, and you'll see the Apply button pop up. Click Apply, and then click OK. So then go back to your client. Again, if this worked, you don't have to worry about this, but if it didn't, then that could be the reason. Go back to your client and run GP update /force, and then that will update the Internet Explorer to use the widgetllc.com as your starting page. Also, don't forget, just logging in doesn't make GP update actually run. You need to restart and log in. So either do GP update /force or just completely reboot and log in. Either one of those will get you where you need to go. So let's go back to our lab for a second here and see what's next on the list. So we did all that good stuff, and now we've got some problem employees. The IT manager wants to create a group policy that just affects the salespeople. They've been shopping online, downloading viruses, doing all kinds of stuff like that. So we're going to open our group policy once again and right-click on the sales OU on the left and choose to create a GPO and link it in this domain. So here's our marketing sales group. We're going to right click and we're going to create a new group policy object and link it here. So we're doing a brand new one from scratch, which is cool. So we're going to call this one Lockdown Users. All right, the policy is only going to affect the salespeople. This is the only OU we're going to apply to. So we're going to go back to the same place we were before, the users, control panel, and then we're going to go to internet settings. We're going to create another new Internet Explorer 10 deal. You can see nothing's saved, so you see the red underline there. So nothing's saved there. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a proxy to force them through another location. So click on Connections and click on LAN Settings. And then click on Proxy Server, check the box. And we'll put in a fake IP address. And we're going to put in port 8080 instead of just the regular port 80. All right, now we're going to hit F5 and see everything's green. Let's click OK, click Apply, click OK. So now we have two different Internet Explorer policies, but they don't conflict with each other. The first one allows you to go to the new homepage, and this one redirects you through a proxy server. Now we're going to change the control panel because these people are really bad employees and they like making changes and causing the IT department all kinds of problems. So we're going to go to User Configuration, Administrative Templates, and then we're going to go to Control Panel and double click on the Prohibit Access to Control panel. So here is User Configuration, Policies, Administrative Templates, Control Panel, and then Prohibit Access to the Control panel and PC Settings. So let's go ahead and enable that. So let's go ahead and hit Apply, click OK, and that's all the changes that we're going to make to that particular group policy. So now we need to go into Active Directory and create a new user and put that user into the Marketing and Sales OU. So let's go to Marketing and Sales and right click and we'll do a new user and it'll be client user. And the username will be client user, all one word, no spaces. Password will be the same password we've been using. Password with a capital P and a 0. Uncheck user must change and change to password never expires. All right, that is now done. So now we can log in to our Widget LLC. I'm just going to go ahead and reboot and log in as the new user so that way everything gets applied properly. One of the other things that we were supposed to do in our group policy was to disable downloads. So the directions are in the lab. Go ahead and follow those. I'm sure you'll have no problem getting to that spot. Let's go back to our client and let's log in. Change the user to Widget LLC / client user. It'll take a little longer to log in because it's a new user, so it has to create a new desktop, so just be patient. All right, we are logged in, so let's take a look and see if the group policy was properly affected. So we'll click on our Start button, and we'll go to Control Panel and it says, hey, you can't get in there because you've got restrictions. So if you're using the traditional tiles, you can just go to the Start button here, and you can look and look, but you're not going to be able to get into your control panel. So let's go ahead and go back to here. Let's open up Internet Explorer again and go to our gear there, go to Internet Options, and then go to Connections, and hopefully we'll see a proxy setting here, and we do. There's our proxy setting. So if they try to make any changes, that will not be affected. It will just continue to reapply itself. So we've effectively locked down our marketing salespeople so they cannot do things that they shouldn't be doing, but the rest of the domain is unaffected. And that's exactly what the effect that we wanted was. We didn't want to mess up anybody else. It was just the people that were causing problems.